Episode 79 of People I Know Show. Curt Carstensen, joined today by Meghan Swanson. Hello, Meghan.
Hi, Curt.
Today is June 2nd as we record this, and I learned yesterday what happened to you the day before on Sunday. So it's been a strange 2 days.
It has been a wild and tiring 2 days.
So here's my perspective, which is a very outsider perspective, and you're going to give the very inside perspective. On Sunday, I was on the phone. I saw the notification come down on my phone that said semi plows into protesters or something. It probably wasn't correct in the wording, but I immediately thought the worst, turned on the TV, and this had happened like a half hour earlier. Since then, I've seen a bunch of video. I saw this one person that was right at the front of the truck, nearly getting hit. And then yesterday, I found out that was apparently you.
That was me.
Meghan, that's a wild story. Explain the emotions that you've been through since then. And I have so many questions about it, but tell me how you're doing today, 2 days later.
Today, I'm doing much better. Like I said to you earlier, I'm a little bit more at peace with how, I don't know. Now that I know it wasn't like meant, I mean, you look at protests that have happened in the past, over on the East Coast with that girl getting hit by the car driving into the crowd that was peaceful protesting. Like, it happens, and that was intentional. So you're all fired up immediately after. Like, you could see it in the video footage, people were attacking the truck immediately. And that was my thought too. Like, there's absolutely no way you didn't see this sea of people moving through the city. You didn't see or know that anything was going on today. Like, I was mad, but today I feel better, but I'm feeling like I want to be out there again. So I feel driven.
When we messaged about this yesterday, something you brought up is needing a sense of closure. Like, you wanted to know what was going on through that guy's mind. And obviously at this point, we haven't seen or heard from him specifically, but the news reports indicate a scenario where he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe trying to go home. And by the time he realized what was happening, I suppose there's a human element of, you don't expect to see, before he saw the group of people, he probably wasn't expecting to see a group of people on the freeway. And then in those first few seconds of reacting, there's initially a lot of criticism over what he did, but who knows what we'd do in that moment. I guess in the end, you're feeling better about his lack of intent to hurt anybody, and you didn't get hurt. And in fact, it looks like in the video, then in the last moment, he swerved a little bit to avoid hitting you.
That's what helped me today. Yesterday, I was searching, I was napping, and then I was searching again for more and more angles and footage of like what happened. And I kept waiting for like a clip to come up saying, we've spoken to the driver, this is what's going to happen. Because like you said, I wanted to know why. I wanted to know why he was there. But I saw that one little clip, that one angle where it's just like just enough, because Curt, I kid you not, I 100% thought I was going to die.
And you laugh about it, and clearly that's not a laugh of humor, maybe more of relief or something else.
Yeah.
So just before we started recording, I went onto YouTube and I found some new perspectives of people recording. So there's thousands of people on the I35W Bridge, which of course, 11 years ago, the old bridge there collapsed into the Mississippi River. So this is very big, new, strong bridge, probably one of the strongest they'd ever create because of what happened previously. A lot of people on there. And it seemed like I'd heard, like after it happened, I heard people explain their account that he was laying on the horn for like 20 seconds, which might have been true. But when I watched one of these videos recording the audio, it happened. It felt like, to me, it was happening within 6 seconds.
So fast. It happened so fast. I mean, I can describe the scene and like the moments leading up to it, because that's literally all it was moments. And he didn't start holding down the horn until like after he had stopped and people jumped onto his truck. That's when he held his horn, and I'm thinking that was him announcing like, I'm getting out of here, like, get off. I mean, people are attacking him. He had a human reaction. Your human reaction is to honk and hold the horn. He was honking coming into the crowd, but he didn't hold it or anything until he had already stopped.
What was happening in the, obviously people are out there protesting. You were part of this large group that had moved, I think, from US Bank Stadium where the Minnesota Vikings play, not terribly far from the location of the bridge, but that would have taken some time to get from the stadium to the bridge.
Yeah. We walked, I don't remember the direct route, because I mean, I was just kind of following the crowds and like paying attention to the people and like all the support that we were getting from the balconies. All the cars driving by were honking. People were hanging out their windows. Like, everyone was supportive of this. It was such a beautiful thing to see. But like, we looped down around and we were actually on the other side of the freeway. And then my friends wanted to hop the median and get onto the other side. So we hopped over there and like we started weaving our way up to the more towards the front, because that's where the speakers were and we wanted to hear it. Sorry, I lost my tangent.
Well, you repositioned yourself. Is that just in a minute or two before this happened, or a long time?
Probably like 5 minutes before it happened. Yeah, we jumped over, and the protesters at the US Bank Stadium, we were all sitting down. We were singing songs, Lean on Me When You're Not Strong and I'll Be Your Friend. And the organizers were on their horns saying, what are we going to do at 8? Go home. What are we going to do at 8? Go home. And it was just so, like, everyone was sitting and in companionship, and we did that again on the bridge. Like, everyone took a knee. Thousands and thousands of people started taking a knee, and they started talking to us. Oh my gosh, I'm kicking myself for forgetting his name right now, but he was the man in the gray suit. He was one of the organizers. He was a professional basketball player. Now he works at Wells Fargo.
TJ Hill maybe is the name. I
yes,
think I heard him.
Thank you. I'm so bad with names. Apologies. But he was literally standing there and was like, we're going to get Royce up here. The mayor's going to come and talk to us in a couple minutes. Like, he's on his way. And so Royce started like walking up, and people started clapping and standing up. And so my friend was sitting right next to me, and another friend of mine, she started walking up towards that because she wanted better pictures. So my friend started standing up, and everyone around us kind of started ambling slowly up. And then within a second, people's cheers turned to, oh my God, run! And it was like a wave in the ocean. You know how they build, like, it goes up and whatever underneath is kind of crushed over the building power of the front of the wave?
Yeah.
We were kind of at the very back end of the edge of where the wave was building, and we just saw all these people like coming at us and parting like the Red Sea. And she's gonna kill me for saying this, but my friend, all I heard was her saying, stop, we can't get up. I saw her drop her cell phone, and then I saw someone yank her, and her butt went in front of my face. And the next thing I knew, as soon as her butt was gone, the semi truck was just there.
So you both fell down?
Yeah, we were both. It was a bunch of people. Like, I don't want to say people were shoving us down or pushing us down, but like, people were getting knocked over. People were getting shoved down. People were bending over to try to get their phones, because everyone's out trying to record these things. So people can't really see what's coming because there's so many people in front of us until you see it, and then you're moving. So it's a human reaction. People were panicked. I thought, honestly, that the police had driven onto the freeway and were starting to shoot rubber bullets or gas us. That's what my initial reaction was. And then as soon as her butt was gone, the semi was there, and I was on my back in like the crab crawl kind of position, and my legs slipped, and I was just in the middle. And I was like, it's coming dead on. If I roll to one side, there's a tire. If I roll to the other side, there's a tire. And so I just kind of like laid back a little bit more because I'm like, the only chance I have is if I do this like a train and go under. But he swerved just enough, and I rolled. And there's actually a footage that I found today of someone who like got literally how close I was. I like just was able to roll. So I laugh now because it was like right there.
It was hard to tell. This moment happened, you didn't get hit, and then a bunch of people rushed towards the semi-tractor. Mm-hmm. Did anyone rush to you?
Yes. That was the other part, is like I couldn't believe it. I kind of was struggling to get to my feet because I was just like out of breath. It took the breath right out of me. And this one big black guy like put his arm out, and I grabbed it, and he yanked me behind him and into the people, like away from the truck. He's like, "You good?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then you can actually see me in the footage from the M.dot cam or whatever. You can see me kind of walking through the crowd, just like real slowly for like a couple seconds, because I was just like, and then I turned around and I just stared up because I could see him. He was on the truck. He was the one, I believe, that opened the passenger side door, and I knew he couldn't hear me, but I was just like, "Thank you." And then I decided to go back up to the truck and take a picture of like where I was. Oh. And I got the license plate number because I was like, if this was intentional, I want to be able to press charges. I don't know what I want to do with this yet, but I want information. I want to be prepared. So.
And now knowing more information and the sense, even though in the moment you feel like someone's trying to attack you, with the information coming out that it likely was totally unintentional and just a really tough spot he found himself in and reacted. Maybe other people would have reacted better and put people even less at risk when they came across that moment.
I've actually been reading some information that truck drivers or people with big rigs have experienced. Like, he handled the stopping actually pretty well because he could have jackknifed, he could have slowed down, his trailer could have swung wide, like he could have rolled. That definitely would have killed so many people because it was a tanker. He was carrying gas to a gas station. At least that's what I've read. So, and there was fluid leaking out of his rig. My friend who got separated from me, she got pulled to one end of the bridge, more towards the median, and I got kicked out towards the side with the grass and everything. But when we connected after, when we were finally able to find each other at our friend's apartment, like, she just broke down and she was like, "I'm so sorry for leaving you. I'm so sorry." And I was like, "No, you did exactly what you needed to." But she was like, people were saying they were going to blow up the bridge, like if it was an intentional like gas rig that got driven out there, that they were going to blow it up, that he was spraying people with gasoline, which was not true. But I'm thinking there was some damage to his truck. He ran over bikes. People were throwing their bikes in front of him to get him to stop moving. But there was fluid leaking from his truck, and she was told to run because they were going to blow up the bridge. So I was like, of course you needed to leave. I would have been mad had you stayed.
We think about what we would have done being him, but of course most of us have not driven a truck down a freeway before. Mm-hmm. And the thought is, okay, slam on the brakes. But I hadn't considered until now slamming on the brakes that
they don't stop like our cars.
No,
stop.
And
that's why you can't cut semis off, because they will win and they cannot stop. They need like 500 feet or something to like slow down. So he was trying. I sincerely think he was trying. I don't know what his intentions were, if he set out and had a change of heart or something, but he did try to stop.
Which, seeing the video of, well, in the moment that the truck was barreling down towards everyone, and you most specifically, everyone has a reaction of get out of the way. But that video of what happens right when people realize that they weren't going to get hit, and then people turn around and do different things and react differently, that's such a great micro level of how we react differently to situations. Some people, the ones that went to fight, went and attacked the vehicle in different ways, some trying to get to him. But then there's other people that went there and stopped others from beating him up too badly.
Yep.
Which is a whole other, now as we know more, a beautiful thing. Like, if he really wasn't intending to hurt, we wouldn't even know. What if some people would have beat him up and killed him? We wouldn't have known anything. Oh,
people were calling, like, I've been watching all the videos from the different perspectives. You were hearing people beat his ass, like, kill him, like, blah, 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 like, all these things. And that's mob mentality. I think that if you aren't able to hold yourself together or think clearly, you shouldn't be in a situation where you could potentially need to face life or death decisions and or consequences. But I think people just reacted. There are definitely people there trying to be heroes, trying to be saviors. And I mean that not like trying to be there, but genuinely were people there, like, people were having panic attacks, like major panic attacks. I saw an ER doctor get down, and like this one girl was just shaking and spasming, like she couldn't control herself. And he was like, I'm an ER doc, please everyone, like, back away. And I was like, he's got this under control, I can move on. There was this old lady who was wrapped in this American flag, just crying, like, why did this happen? I was asking her if she was okay. But like, I was trying to find my friend's phone because I went back out into the highway or the freeway when he moved down because I saw her phone. And I found my sign too that I had made, and he had run over my sign.
What did your sign say?
No justice, no peace. And I firmly believe in that.
That was Sunday. We're speaking Tuesday. This will begin to be viewed or listened to soon. And I'm wondering, as we move forward, but also looking back, what else have you been involved with? What's your mentality moving forward? And why? What inspires you and drives you to be a part of this cause and movement and put your life at risk, apparently, which maybe you didn't realize, or maybe everyone kind of knows that you could be entering a dangerous situation?
I don't think you cannot help but know that, especially in a climate like this, in a moment, it can turn deadly, it can turn insane, it can change in an instant. Going down there, my friend actually picked me up, and we were discussing that going down, and we were talking to a friend on the phone, and he was like, I don't think you guys should be going. This is stupid. Like, you shouldn't be there. You don't have a place there. And I was like, that's messed up to say, because this is something like we both firmly believe in. We have coworkers, family members, like friends, lovers, children, we have people that we love and that are genuinely afraid day to day to do basic things that we don't even think of. And they're hurting, and we want to go down there and we want to show support, solidarity. This is a state we love. This is something we don't stand by. The murder, obviously. So it's like, we should be there. And he's like, it's dangerous. And we're like, we know what's happening. We know the risk we're taking. But I would 100% do it again. And I was going to go out there today, actually, but my knee got kind of messed up. I didn't feel it that day, but it's pretty swollen. It's black and blue and kind of scraped up. So I was like, if I want to go back to work, I kind of just want to ice it for a day or two. But I feel really bad actually that I can't go out there again today. But I am actually thinking about going tomorrow. And we got people out there doing good things. It's so beautiful. It's so peaceful. It's so powerful to see. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Had you been out there before Sunday?
No, I just actually got back from Texas Saturday afternoon. So I slept all day Saturday. And then I got up in the morning and I had people messaging me, hey, now that you're back in Minnesota, are you coming down? I'm like, absolutely. And my friend called me. She's like, all right, I'm coming by and picking you up, and then we're going. So it was my first day back in Minnesota. We'd been following this in Texas for days, having discussions with the people's house that we were staying at. Like, we were ready. We were ready for what we were going into, and we were prepared mentally. Like, this is for the people we love, and enough is enough.
One slightly unrelated thought that comes to mind, but is obviously kind of the underlying thing here, is we're in the middle of a pandemic. Most places have been letting or loosening up the more strict rules that people have been having. I think Texas was a few weeks ahead of Minnesota with that. Maybe that's why you were there. I don't know. But what, at least on Sunday, how careful were people being in general? Where it was almost everyone wearing a mask? No? Or people trying to avoid touching each other mostly?
I think I saw maybe like 5 people without a mask. Everyone had masks or a bandana or something over their face. There were people lined up on the streets with hand sanitizer, and people were stopping. It was, people weren't like touching. Yes, we were in close proximity, but I think as a intelligent adult or even an intelligent child, COVID is still here. Keep your space, but yeah, no one was like touching or hugging or holding hands really. Like, people were linking arms, but everyone had masks. I think we're never going to be rid of the coronavirus. That's just, it's now in our vernacular. States are reopening. Being realistic, we can't avoid crowds forever. And this was a cause that I felt, if I'm going to get sick for this, I will get sick for this. I will isolate then. But I think everyone was just like, we're taking this risk because this is something that needs to be risked for.
And we're seeing that all over the country and in several major cities around the world. I've noticed huge gatherings in support of this cause to what seems so simple. Police officers don't kill people that don't need to be killed. I mean, not that anyone needs to be killed, but let's at least start with the situations where that person didn't need to die at the hands of police.
With George Floyd, that was a conscious effort or conscious decision that was made. He knew how long he'd been kneeling. He knew where he was kneeling. Those cops knew what he was doing. Apparently, there was one who said, or expressed concern. But honestly, really what's getting me angry is the police brutality that is just excessive. And it's horrific. And people are dying unnecessarily, as you said. I'm sorry, I just get distracted.
Yeah, it's a cause that people have been fighting for a while, and I've been going through a wide range of emotions, as I think a lot of people do. Maybe it's heavy on the sadness or anger or fear or a lot of negative emotions that we feel. But the one that's creeped up a few times that I like is the excitement that something is happening now that could actually lead to a huge positive change. That's why people are gathering together, because we believe that we need a change. And I feel a sense of excitement that maybe it actually could happen from this time.
Fingers are crossed. I mean, what was it, 6 days after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, the civil I hate to get the words wrong, but like my mind is racing. Civil Rights Act or something like was finally passed. Like it took an act of extreme violence, and which I'm not condoning, but like Malcolm X got results by rioting because the system wasn't listening. I was excited when the 3rd precinct burned down. Sorry to say it, not sorry to say it, but it needed to happen. People need to be heard. We're sick of this. Justice is not being served. You're arresting thousands of protesters who are protesting the simple fact that you didn't arrest 4 police officers who were responsible for a man's murder for trying to pass off a $20 bill. That, I mean, you know where we work, so I mean, those things happen. Do those people deserve to die? No.
No, it's I've written some blog posts lately. One of them I turned into a short bonus episode of my podcast. And it's really about things escalating or de-escalating and people having compassion for others or not. And again, going back to the incident from Sunday that led to this conversation today with us, when emotions are running high, people do react very differently. It's that when people with authority, whatever their reaction is, why they have that reaction, if they're in authority and their reaction is to make things worse than they would need to be, and people end up dying because police officers, and they have a tough job. Everyone says this, of course they do, but
no one's denying that.
Not every police officer would kill all the people that have been killed by police officers. Some would find another way to deal with that. And I suppose it's possible that in some of those cases, the police officer ends up injured or killed.
They're
because
only human.
So it's a very difficult situation. But what gets lost in this, I think, is that there's a percentage of people that are just like, this is what it is. And no, we need to find a way to be better at everything. We can't just accept what is as this is the life that we're going to exist in. No, people want better, and let's do what we can to make it better. And that's why this is going on.
I was seeing so many different signs throughout the march. It was like Asian silence equals Asian consent. White silence equals white consent. Like, we need to use our voices and yes, our privilege to like draw attention to the injustices that other people are facing, because our silence is allowing for that to continue. You can disagree all you want, but if you remain silent, you're part of the problem. And I would just like to say, again, when you say people react differently, yeah, those protesters that jumped in front of that truck driver were amazing human beings. I just saw a video today on Facebook about protesters jumping in front of a mob that was about to loot a Target, and they all like linked arms and was like, we're not going to be a part of this. The people on the loudspeakers were saying, we're going to be peaceful. There will be absolutely nothing, like, you will be shamed out of here. We don't want it. There are people here infiltrating us, trying to sow discord and chaos and anarchy. But if you stay strong and peaceful, those people will be dealt with and our message will remain clear. And so those people that stepped up were amazing. To segue a little bit, sorry, back to the police brutality bit, those protesters who had blocked the truck driver, really, they were trying to escort him to the squad cars when the squad cars came onto the bridge, and they maced them all. They didn't take a second to think, like, are these people helping the situation, or is this going to create a scene if I do this? They just straight in maced them, everyone. And I'm so sick of police acting and then thinking rather than thinking and then acting. I watched another Facebook or video on Facebook today. This artist created. He said it takes more training hours to become a hairstylist than it does to become a police officer. And he asked the question, why does it take more hours to train with a curling iron than it does to train with a loaded gun? Police need to be retrained to de-escalate situations. Plain and simple. Because what I saw on the bridge is they weren't coming to serve and protect us at a peaceful protest that they had designated for us to be there. They swarmed the bridge and they started macing people. It was so peaceful too. After the truck driver got down the road and into the squad car, people were just milling about, coming to terms. No one was being chaotic. No one was disturbing the peace. No one was doing anything. We were all just kind of like traumatized and wandering around. And then the cops just formed these ranks, and I have video, I have a picture of them just forming ranks and like marching down systematically in the bridge. And like, why would they do that? Why would they escalate that situation to essentially almost the point of a riot? Because then people started throwing bottles at them, screaming, F the police, all of these things. And then they started shooting rubber bullets, and that's when I was just like, I need to find my friend. I have her phone. It's just too chaotic right now.
Escalating and de-escalating. Those really are the two words. And there's people that are good at recognizing, either maybe they're like me and I don't like confrontation, so I try to find ways to de-escalate.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone that's in law enforcement seems to like confrontation, and they have the power and the authority in those situations, so in confrontation, they're in a different situation than the person they're dealing with usually. But if they use their power and authority, whether with the weapons they have I think they're probably using them because that's their de-escalation method, but it's an escalating method.
Mm-hmm.
People being shot at by anything aren't going to like that. Yeah, you might get them
trigger something in
you
them.
get control for the time being, probably, but that doesn't end anything. That makes that moment in time maybe less dangerous for the police for a few seconds. But then it's just the constant reaction of getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't the people that are in charge of that understand that aspect? There's probably many reasons why they think that is the best way to go. And I'd be happy to have a conversation with someone explaining why they think precisely that's what they have to do. Mm-hmm. I don't buy it. There has to be a better way. Maybe that was once the best way they came up with to deal with a situation. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean it's still the best way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tried and proven is not always effective. People need to change. People have changed. Society has changed. Technology has changed. You can't tell me that there aren't other ways to handle things when they're just, everything is so different. You can't tell me that reacting can't be different too.
And everything's gonna keep on being different. Before we started recording, I described something that was different as weird, and your reaction to me using the word weird was different than anyone else I'd heard. So let's bring that topic back. Why, when describing the fact that things that are right now in Minnesota, especially and in many places, are very different than they were. When I describe some of these changes as weird, why didn't you like me using that word?
Because I think what you would consider weird, or what most people nowadays would consider weird, as in like staying at home, not going out on a Saturday night for a drink, or these riots that are happening, people wearing masks. It's not weird anymore. That's the new normal. We have to just accept that this is what it is. Masks are going to become a part of the accessories that everyone has, like just putting on a watch before you go to work, or putting on a scarf. You want to match it with your mask. going out to a movie and having chairs in between, like, you and the next person empty. That's going to seem weird, but it's now actually what it's going to be. So weird is now normal, and I'm all for it.
That's true. We can only assess things with our experience in the time that we've been exposed to them. But I'd imagine everything that is normal for us now was once weird to people when it was new.
Absolutely.
And that things always are changing.
Absolutely. I
right
mean,
now, we're in a time of a lot of things changing very fast, which I think gives us a greater sensation of weirdness because everything's so different than it was. But even after a couple days, I kind of get used to it. I go, this is what we're doing.
Yep. And if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that embrace the weird, because nothing is off the top. Nothing is off the table.
I have a couple topics left, Megan, and one of them we're colleagues, and so I've known you for a year, 2 years. I don't even know. I lose track. But what I like to bring to my podcast is how the person I'm talking to, the person that I know, has inspired me or changed my mind in some way. And I guess with you, because we don't know each other super well, although we've interacted quite a bit, the thing about you that I appreciate so much and really I think brings out the best in me is that when I interact with you in the workplace, or I guess anywhere that maybe I would see you, you have this positive attitude and energy that I'm very capable of. But if I'm not around it, usually it's just not there. Mm-hmm. But when I'm around you, it comes out almost all the time, or maybe all the time, because you seem to have it. And then it makes me feel better because then I can be that positive person that I'm very capable of being. So you make me better when I'm around you because of observing just your mentality to just the moment in time. It seems so positive so often.
Mm-hmm. I hear that a lot. I don't consider myself an overly positive person. I consider myself a pessimistic optimist, if anything. But I've always just had that mentality of like a smile could make someone's day, because a small act of kindness, anything, even if it's just like a, hey, hi, be happy, make someone happy. Like if you're going through it, doesn't mean that someone else has to go through it too, you know? Be the change you want to see in the world.
It's funny that you say that. I have a shirt that says that I thought about wearing today. I really, but if you would have said that and I was wearing it, I wouldn't have known that you just had that come to your mind.
Mm-hmm. It's so cliche, but it rings so true, you know? And that's really all it stems from. It's very simple.
And that, I suppose, is why we are talking, and it's why I have a podcast. I want to take what I've learned, people I've learned from, put it back into the world, hoping that the positive things that I've come across get disseminated further and more people can learn from people that I've learned from. And here we are, as I've been thinking about who to ask on my podcast, even leading up to now, before I realized the situation and the experience that you went through, I've been thinking about either the non-white people, or more specifically the Black people in my life that I know that come from different backgrounds and some have been very involved in all that's been going on the past week. And I probably will have conversations with some of those people in the future. But then I'm talking with you right now, the first person I've had as a guest since this all happened and began to happen a week ago. And we're both white people. But it's that mentality for positive change and wanting better that I think brings me to this conversation. And also knowing people from all over the world in different backgrounds, all different colors and races, and liking people from every group I've ever met. I'm not saying I'd like everyone, but I'm not liking them because of their race. There's white people I don't like either. I like good people. And when good people are being harmed by a system, I'm fighting for them. If even if there are bad people being harmed by a system, I don't care. I want to help the good people being harmed.
Justice for all, you know, and justice should mean justice. If you are a bad person doing bad things, you should be able to be tried fairly and face justice. Like if you are a good person doing bad things or a good person doing good things. Like, everyone is it's just us doing what we can, and we should be facing justice. As you were saying, like, people, you love people. That's kind of where I'm stemming from too. That's why I was there on the bridge. I mean, I have a 2-year-old daughter. She's half black, half white. Like, this is not my fight, but it is my fight, because I see what's happening and I have an obligation to step up, because I will not let this be a world that she grows up in that hates her, that's a danger to her. Like, I want better for her. I want better for my friends, my family. And I spoke with my parents. They weren't too happy that I was there. They're the ones that are saying, like, this isn't your fight. You shouldn't be there. And I said, how can you say that? This is exactly where I belong.
I want to step back from when I said bad people, because I actually don't believe that. I'm not convinced that there's bad people. I'm convinced that people get attached to bad ideas. And people have negative experiences that cause their reactions in the future to different situations to appear negative. I don't think people are inherently bad. I think we all come from different backgrounds, and some of those backgrounds lead to
Nurture
people
over nature.
That I think there's genetics, there's DNA, and there's experience, and the human brain causes us to all feel different things and act different ways in situations. And I'm nowhere near perfect. My reactions and heat of emotion sometimes are not as pleasant as I wish they were when I look back at it. People are going to act poorly sometimes. And that's a reality. We need to minimize the harm that's caused when people are in situations where they react so poorly, and recognize that they're not bad people. We're not bad people. They're not bad people. They
bad things may have happened.
Bad behavior based on either bad ideas or bad experiences in the past. And we need to look for positive and make the world better for everyone. That's what this movement's about. That's why we're talking. That's why, coincidentally, you damn near died, and you didn't. And obviously, you're a survivor. You can tell your story and now be a greater positive change on people that hear from you.
That's what I'm hoping for. I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I've had a lot of friends reach out to me, say, we see you, thank you. I'm like, I wasn't out there trying to be a martyr. I was just trying to be a voice to add to others, to this movement. And as you were actually, segueing back, you were saying you might have some Black acquaintances or people on your podcast. I was actually having one of my friends called me, and he expressed concern about what had happened. And he told me that, like, coworkers, because he was out on the bridge too, but he actually left like 3 or 4 minutes before the semi came through. And he's had coworkers reach out to him, ask him how he's doing. And he's like, now you guys want to talk to me? We'll keep this professional. We'll keep this at work. But, like, I'm not ready to have a conversation with you right now. He's just angry. And I've heard that sentiment echoed by quite a few people. It's just like, this is our time now, but, like, we're angry, we're hurt. We don't want to talk. We just want action, kind of thing. So a lot of people are feeling a lot of different ways about all of this.
It's a time for more conversations, different conversations, but
it's time to be respectful.
Be respectful. But I guess my encouragement to anyone, no matter their background or point of view, is let's have these tough conversations and have them in a way where we're very respectful and we listen, because even people with bad ideas, they've bought into them for a reason, and maybe it's not a bad reason that's led them to a bad idea. And if we can really understand and hear people, and they can really understand and hear us, then you can actually get to the point where the emotions calm down and you can feel like, okay, I don't dislike this other person that disagrees with me. Maybe I can take a little piece of what they're saying and adopt it to my own reality, which then I think in the end improves ideas. And it gets better ideas spread, a better message, a more comprehensive worldly perspective on what people go through, and brings us closer to being one human race and less emphasis on what makes us or appears to make us different.
Amen. Amen. And you don't necessarily have to understand everyone's perspectives, but you can empathize. Exactly what you said. I mean, you can understand that you don't understand, but still maintain neutrality, respectfulness, and empathize, and change your mind on some things too.
I love changing my mind. That's what this podcast's about. That's what I guess I typically have two segments that I end with and what they're about, but I'm going to go with one of them today. But you can incorporate the changing your mind into this. It's my personal growth segment. Megan, can you tell me a powerful story from your life that you recognize you've grown because of what you're going to explain, and that you think maybe some people haven't realized yet?
I would say the one that just popped into my head was when I was in college. I was at a Walmart and I was trying to find something, and I saw a Walmart employee. I went up and I said, "Excuse me," and I got no response from her, and I was like, "Excuse me," no response. And so I tapped her on her shoulder, and she turned around and she looked at me and immediately went, I'm so sorry." She was deaf. And just her look of apologeticness on her face, it moved something in my heart. And I looked at her and I was like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." And that next day I was actually signing up for classes, and I saw that River Falls was offering a sign language class. And so I took that sign language class because I was like, it's not her fault she's deaf. It's not her fault she can't communicate to me what I want, and it's my fault for not knowing how to communicate with her. So I've kind of adapted that mentality to all aspects of my life and the conversations that I have. It's not your fault you're Black. It's not your fault you're deaf. It's not your fault you were born with this, I don't want to say disability, but it's not your fault you are a certain type of way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to us to kind of try to find ways to bridge those differences. Me, that was taking an ASL class, and we've had guests come into our establishment and we're deaf, and I was able to communicate it with it. And it's just like a look of satisfaction and just appreciation on their faces. Everyone should be doing this. There's so many conversations out in the world that we're only hindering ourselves because we don't want to learn. And so I took that away from that, and I love it.
That's a really powerful story. And I think it goes to show that so commonly we have expectations that other people do something a certain way, because shouldn't everybody see it this way, do things this way? Shouldn't everybody be able to respond to me when I talk to them? But clearly there are reasons why people can't do what we expect all the time. And for us to be mad at them for not living up to our expectations, that's on us. And I mean, there's probably things in this conversation where we have expectations of others in a certain way that's on us for maybe expecting too much out of people. I believe that. But it's when you hear about situations where people have challenges and it's difficult, it doesn't mean that we stop getting better. So it goes back to the point of we can improve. Maybe I'm expecting too much of a police officer at this day in history, 2020, but by 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now, whenever, people need to get better at these things that are causing problems.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Megan, thank you.
We can make the changes.
We can. We have to. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with stuff that is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable for a long time. And why? I mean, uncomfortable is okay. Once we get to being uncomfortable, then we can break through that and find a way to to improve
grow.
things. It is how we grow.
Mhm.
Thank you, Meghan. Appreciate the conversation. And
Thank
I'm
you
so
for
glad
having
you're
me.
okay and that you can share your story. And I look forward to seeing you before too long in person.
All right. Thank you for having me.